Hi everyone. So I am starting to prepare for Nano, which is NaNoWRIMO. And I've just been kind of taking notes from the internet and different booktube videos. So the story that I'm going to be writing is kind of a mixture of dystopian and fantasy. So I've been writing dystopian fantasy and just like general YA things that I might want to either avoid or find a different way to write them. If you've noticed from the title or my username, or you've been on my channel long enough, you will know that my pretty much my favorite book of all time is a YA dystopian. And some of my other favorites are also within that category. And I do like fantasy as well too, but I want to say that I probably actually have read more contemporary. But the story that I'm writing works as a fantasy with kind of a dystopic element. So the thing about cliches or tropes are that they can work. That's with any genre, right? Horror, dystopian, paranormal, romance. It's not to say that you shouldn't use any of these, because obviously, in reality, cliches, tropes, whatever, kind of make those genres. I mean, if you remove all of it, then you probably don't have that genre, right? So now some of these can kind of go within each other, but sometimes depending on maybe the author, the trilogy, whatever, one trope may dominate in that more than the others, or vice versa. Like love triangles. I haven't read a whole lot of YA dystopian, and I'm still making my way through the genre. However, between young adult dystopian and, well, just young adult in general, like, if it has anything to do with something outside of contemporary, there's usually a love triangle, right? The vampires versus whatever else. The girl that needs to save the day, choosing between the two guys, right? See, like teen saves the day. That one really doesn't make sense, just because, yeah, like people have mentioned before, like the love triangle thing. Teenagers, they're still trying to figure out their damn relationships, and then you have like your where is it? Where'd I have it? Oh, it's still up here in dystopian, but this one happens in all the freaking genres, I've noticed. Even if I haven't read the book, like if I've only seen the movie, or if you could just read the back of the damn covers and everything, insta love, you hear about it all the time. Insta love. Insta love is kind of worse than love triangles, because I mean, you can meet two people, get to know them, and like have an interest in both of them. But insta love is often because of crap like this. Where is it? There's a moody character who falls in love with like a clumsy or insecure character that they don't know is pretty, but for some reason all the guys want them. This usually doesn't happen the other way around, and maybe it could be interesting to kind of turn that around. Like, I don't know, have like a guy with 2 female interests. I mean, maybe it would be different from a different perspective. Probably not, but it'll be something a little different, right? What do you want? You are invading my video. The cat is over here and he wants pets. Yeah, don't make that noise. You are on my paper. But anyways, so these could work if done right. So, I mean, you could have, you know, a love triangle. It works in some books. Like, if your characters have known each other, that makes more sense than the insta love going into a love triangle. But no adults thing. So, one of my favorite books is sort of kind of guilty of this. That would be The Fault in Our Stars. People kind of wonder what parent would let their child explore a country that they're visiting by themselves. There's a point in that book when they go to Amsterdam and then the 2 kids kind of take off. I mean, they're teenagers, but still, they're not only in a different country, they're in an entire different continent. But again, there are examples where the whole idea of maybe one of the kids being more in charge kind of works. There could be a disabled parent, a parent with maybe some mental health issues, something happening to them, they go out somewhere, I don't know, they get kidnapped or something, and that would probably be more of your mystery thriller kind of things. But you know, that thing can work. Cause like love triangles can work. The teen saving the day thing can kind of work, just not by themselves. Factions and groups. It makes sense depending on how the story is. So I have not finished Divergent to kind of give my full opinion on that one. I kind of got halfway through it, and I just wasn't able to finish it at the time, but I was enjoying the story. I plan on going back to it. But because I haven't finished it or got to the other books to know about the factions and everything, I can't give too much of an example on that one. But out of the books I've read, and like I said, I haven't read too much of one genre. That and The Hunger Games are one of the only 2 that seem where that trope or cliche is like a prominent thing. Like, people are kept separate for whatever reason. And it definitely works for The Hunger Games, I know that. Because of the whole governmental control thing. It works depending on how much of a dictatorship, how much of that approach your dystopic society takes. Right? Or how much brainwashing they've done, right? So, like, in The Giver, things aren't as crazy and barbaric as in The Hunger Games. But they've moved to the society where they have basically convinced themselves that the idea of choices, that people can make wrong choices, and that is what brings about war and death and unhappy things, right? That your life should be laid out for you by elders who know better. And people are comfortable in this way of life that is set up for them. They know no other life. So, up until the whole thing with the giver and everything, the whole plot of the book, basically, not too many people really question what's beyond their society, because they live in this false idea of happiness and no pain and everything. And because they've been raised in this, they don't see it as they've given up music and colors and anything else that you would consider that would make a human being in that way. So, I mean, that whole separating people thing, cutting them off from society, it can work depending on what your people in the society are taught. Either taught or what they're allowed or, threatened to do or not to do. Some people have mentioned no science research. I think this more goes for the apocalyptic dystopian thing. Or just anything in general. You could put anything scientific in there. Research it. Everyone versus the government. Again, that's a dystopian thing. And obviously, it works better if there are people that think their society is okay for whatever reason. Again, The Giver would be a great example of that. The Chosen One, that one I know a lot of people just complain about, and I can see why, because it really doesn't make sense, because then you have, again, this clumsy but skilled with weapons, right? So to again use the two books as an example, because they are my favorite dystopians so far, The Giver and The Hunger Games, right? So while Jonas is kind of the chosen one, he's chosen to be the receiver of memories, to learn from the giver. The whole thing is that the elders of the society basically observe people as they're growing up and kind of put them in jobs they think they would do best at. And that doesn't seem too far-fetched. We also have to remember there's kind of a magical element in that book, so that one kind of works. And then Katniss really isn't a chosen one per se. She kind of becomes the face of the rebellion after the games, especially after what happens to her ally in the arena, and she wasn't chosen for the games to begin with and everything, so that just kind of protecting your family kind of thing and getting thrown into a situation. So I think if a person is chosen to represent something rather than just being born with a magical power, or for their skills that they've shown growing up, that makes a little bit more sense. The mention of parallel worlds, that's more urban fantasy. I haven't read really high fantasy, not yet, but the real world with Discovering magic, I guess, is kind of my thing in a way. Because I like real world issues, not saying that, high fantasy couldn't have that. Like I said, I haven't really read it to know. But I do kind of see the point where that's been overdone. And in my book, it's like the magical element is already within the world and everything because of certain things. So that's all I'm going to say. I've rambled on a whole lot. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.